What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex here, and you're watching the Star Wars edition of the Ragin Nation Show. This is just a web series where we're talking about all things matter to me in the world of Star Wars films. This is episode number 30, and I'm sure by now you guys have seen Star Wars Rogue One, or otherwise known as Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I've seen it twice. I already did my spoiler-free review. If you haven't seen the movie and you want to check out my opinion, check out that spoiler-free review. Otherwise, if you have seen the movie and you want to know my thoughts about it, in a spoiler chat discussion, this is that video. So this full of spoilers. I'm going to tell you about specific things that I loved about the movie and specific things that I thought could use some improvement. Now, just to let you guys know, as a reminder, I gave it a 9 out of 10. And the only weak thing I thought about the film was really the characters. The characters were not something that I really was able to connect with. I mean, it just gave us the right amount of me to feel enough for them. I felt a little bit sad when they all died, but I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. The only introduction to this story was really on the opening crawl of episode 4, A New Hope, and it was just that one line, and we never really knew anything about them until now. But what I didn't know is that they did this like a no sacrifice, no victory type of thing. They had to give up their lives for this, and I guess it's kind of poetic. I guess it had to be like that. It just had to happen that way, because it would have created, it definitely created more meaning and more, I guess, meat for the story of A New Hope. And it really, really does. As a matter of fact, it complements A New Hope so well and makes it a better movie than it already is. Anyways, what I'm going to talk about in this episode, what I'm going to start off with this spoiler chat discussion is what I thought could use some improvement in the film. And that is the characters. The characters are characters that they don't have a lot of depth to them. I mean, we got introduced to a lot of characters. There was Bodhi Rook, played by Riz Ahmed. There's Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna. Of course, there's Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones. Chirrut Imwe, played by Donnie Yen. And Baze Malbus, played by Jiang Wen. And I think the only character that we know the most about is Jyn Erso, because it's centered on her. And also Chirrut Imwe. And his character, I find, is the most interesting, because not only does Donnie Yen play the character and then he's a martial artist, but he is the only character that has the strongest connection to the Force. He understands the Force, he uses the Force, and he is actually, he kind of explains the Force even more than all the other films that are out there. I mean, in episode 1 they talked about midichlorians, but that was just pure nonsense. I mean, that was never talked about ever again. But in Rogue One, Chirrut Imwe talks about the Force here and there. Like, he always just talks about little bits of it, and we kind of piece it all together, and we get to know more about the philosophy of the Force, how it works, and even kyber crystals. Kyber crystals is the element that powers the lightsabers, and apparently he has a kyber crystal in his staff. But most importantly, he talks a lot about the Force and how it works, and he uses that in his ability to understand his surroundings, and also in combat. So that is really, really awesome. I guess it's a further exploration of Force lore. You know what I'm saying? It's the lore of the Force that's really explored the most in Rogue One. So I really appreciated that. Another thing that I want to talk about next is, let's talk about the plot. Obviously, it's about stealing of the Death Star plans. All these characters come together, and in fact, it's kind of like Armageddon, where you have these misfit ragtag group of characters. They have one common goal, and they go on this mission, right? And they all do their things, and by they I mean the characters. They do their appropriate stuff that they need to do. They all serve a specific purpose, but then it's a very simple and linear plot. It's a very, very simple plot. And I don't think it really needs to be very, very complex. It's not like The Force Awakens, which has a whole lot of questions. It's not like that. This is a very different type of story. And it starts off bumpy. As I've mentioned in my Star Wars Rogue One spoiler-free review, I mentioned that it starts off bumpy. It doesn't feel very smooth. After all, there was no opening crawl, and it just starts off abruptly, and we're introduced to these characters, and they do some crazy things. And by crazy things, I mean we're introduced to Cassian Andor, who's a rebel, and then we see the greasy side of being a rebel. I mean, when we think of rebels fighting the Empire, we automatically think like good versus evil. But the Empire has always seen themselves as they're doing the right thing. Even though it feels like a little bit unethical, they feel like they're doing the right thing and doing it through tyranny. And they see themselves as the good guys. However, for the rebels, we've always seen them as the good guys fighting for peace and hope. But there's an uglier side of it, and we got to see that. And I'm thinking like, hey, I'm not used to this. Did Cassian Andor just kill that dude that just gave him information? And once I saw that, I was like, okay, this is very, very different. I'm not sure I like this. I'm not sure I don't like this, but it's definitely very, very different. And I'm not used to this, but I'm at least seeing a more realistic take on the, I guess, war. Because war is not ugly. War comes with a lot of mess, and this is one of the messier aspects of the film, or rather the story, and we got to see that. So it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. To see it's not just about, let's go into battle, and let's fight the Empire, and let's make a plan to fight the Empire. It's not about that anymore. It's more about how to get there in whatever means we possibly can. So it's really, really interesting. It's very interesting to see that side of the story. So I gotta say that I do like it. Let's talk about. Hey, I want to talk about K2SO. K2SO is a droid. He's a reprogrammed Imperial droid. He provides a lot of comic relief. He's voiced and acted by Alan Tudyk, and I think he does a great job. And I thought he would actually survive. He didn't make it. It was kind of sad to see him not make it. After all, he started to become a very, very likable character. But he was like his own personality. He wasn't like a version of C-3PO. I mean, some would say that he is, but you can really tell that he's got a very distinct personality, and he's not just some a protocol droid like C-3PO. He's not like that. He's not just some sidekick. He actually provides quite a bit of he contributes a lot in the story. So that's really, really awesome. And of course, there's the countless cameos: R2D2, C-3PO, the Red Leaders, is it Red and Gold Leader? The Red and Gold Leader guys, the pilots. Of course, Grand Moff Tarkin, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, Bail Organa, the other guy, Mon Mothma. You know what I'm saying? There's just a lot of great callbacks to these great characters that we saw before, and I love that little moment where Bail Organa just says to I think it's Mon Mothma, he says to, or is it someone else? I forgot, but anyways, he says that I'm going to look for a friend. I know someone I can rely, I can trust on, and you know, of course they're referring to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and of course Princess Leia. I would trust her with my life. So that, like, I instantly caught that right away. That was awesome. You know what? Speaking of which, there were a lot of missing scenes from the trailer. There were a lot of them. Like, I'm talking about like half of the shots that we see in the trailer were not even in the film. It was just like, what the hell? Like, I was expecting to see that wide, grand shot where Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor were walking towards the ACTs, the armored cargo transports, but then we didn't get to see that. Like, what the hell? And then that line from Director Krennic, he says, "The power of this is immeasurable." Like, that's such an awesome line, and that was a moment with him and Darth Vader. And I would have loved to see that kind of interaction. I would like to see more interactions with Darth Vader. So, you know, that's unfortunate. Hey, let's talk about the action. Of course, a lot of action revolves around stormtroopers. The stormtroopers are slightly more improved compared to the previous ones, but it's the shore troopers from Scarif and the death troopers that are the lethal ones. Those are the ones you gotta watch out for. And I'm glad that they made more elite troopers other than just the stormtroopers, because we all know how the stormtroopers are. So the death troopers were definitely, you know, their name is definitely has a reputation. So they actually do their job. Let's see, there was 3 action sequences. There was a scene at that battle sequence in Jeddah. That was pretty cool. We got to see the tank and the tank troopers. They were doing their thing, and that was a battle against the extremists. And we got to be introduced to Chirrut Imwe's character, and what a badass fight scene. It was Chirrut Imwe and his staff, and I was just thinking, how could he possibly fight stormtroopers? But once you see the scene, it's such a crowd-pleasing scene that you don't even care that it's just a wooden stick. It works. It's such an awesome scene, and you know, you're totally convinced that Donnie Yen plays such a great blind wannabe Jedi. Yeah, so that was awesome. So that was a great scene. The other battle scene was, of course, on the planet, is it Edu? Where they were mining, there's a refinery for the kyber crystals. That was a pretty cool scene, too. And it was exciting because of the X-Wings. Like, the X-Wings were, like, just flying in there, and I was like, oh, yeah! You know what I'm saying? That was pretty cool. I mean, it wasn't, like, a big sequence, but it was still a great sequence, because once you saw the X-Wing fighters go in, and then Donnie Yen, he was able to use the force, and then fire his, like the big thing at a TIE fighter. That was a great scene. Finally, that leads us to the Battle of Scarif, which was like, man, if you love the battle on Endor, and if you love the battle on Hoth, you will love this. It's a combination of the two, because they're fighting in a tropical environment, not necessarily a forest, but, you know, there's a tropical environment, and the shore troopers are kind of like the scout troopers, and then, of course, the AT-ATs are kind of like a callback to the Hoth battle. So it's a combination of the two, and Gareth Edwards, the director, he kind of wanted to combine the great ground battles of the Star Wars original trilogy and put it in there, and it was such a great battle. It was a dirty battle, and by dirty, I mean there was a lot of casualties. A lot of casualties. A lot of rebel casualties. Like, you don't see that in Return of the Jedi. A lot of them get shot one after the other. They're getting picked off by freaking shore troopers, and then death troopers. Oh man, it was one hell of a scene. And then, of course, while that's going on, the space battles. That has got to be one of the best space battles in freaking in Star Wars. Okay, that's got to be the best battle, because Gareth Edwards, he took in so many elements that made the space battles great in the previous films, and he put it into this film. Because, you know, let's see, Phantom Menace had a space battle, but it was not very good. It was the worst space battle of them all, bitch, because it didn't feel like a personal battle. It was just random ships flying against random robot ships, like they were droid-controlled ships. You didn't even get to see the pilot. So that was, you know, that was a BS space battle. And then you have the opening sequence of Revenge of the Sith, which was really cool. It was very grand, but it was very short, and it was just about Obi-Wan and Anakin. It really wasn't about the space battle. It was more about their interaction and how they work together. The space battle wasn't a space battle for the sake of a battle. It was a space battle for the sake of these characters working together and getting to know their dynamic. It was about that. And then, of course, there's the battle in A New Hope, which was awesome. That was a great battle. It was the battle that started all the grand space battles. So that was awesome. And then, of course, there's Return of Jedi, which was the best space battle at the time. But now there's the battle of the space battle of Scarif. Okay, and that was a space battle which is kind of like the Return of the Jedi battle, because there's stuff that was going on here, like in space, that was directly affected by the stuff that's going on the ground. They both relied on each other. And that was what made the space battle, or the Battle of Scarif as a whole, so exciting and so important. Because they both relied on each other. There's a lot at stake. We're talking about planets being destroyed. So it's just feels like there's a lot of depth and a lot of risk going on there. So you're really feeling for the characters, and you're really hoping for their survival. And there's just a lot of elements in the space battle that make it so great. For example, the cameo appearance from Gold Leader, Red Leader, and then, of course, you see all the classic spaceships. A great moment is, of course, that Hammerhead Corvette. The Hammerhead Corvette, oh man, that was cool. I believe it's a vehicle or a spacecraft that you saw in Rebels or Clone Wars. I never actually watched the series, but it shows up here. It rams the Star Destroyer into another Star Destroyer. I didn't think it was going to crumble like that. I knew they were going to crash into each other, but I just thought it was going to go like that. I didn't think it was going to go... I was like, holy crap. Like, there's a lot of holy moments, like holy moments in the movie. Like, one moment after another moment. One of the moments was seeing that ACT, that's hard to say, but another moment is watching all those ships come into hyperspace. Like, so many of them are coming into hyperspace, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. Star Wars is back. You know, the first and second act did not feel like Star Wars at all. But then the third act is like, oh my god, Star Wars is back. It is so back. And then to top things off, we're seeing all the classic spaceships. And then after that, that moment where they're jumping out of hyperspace, but one of them never made it because the Star Destroyer appeared. I was like, oh, damn, that was awesome. And there's that dramatic music playing. That was such a great moment because I always wondered, a lot of fans have always wondered what would happen if they try to jump out of hyperspace, but then something appears. That is answered right there. Wow, that was such a great scene. The space battle was fan-freaking-tastic. This leads me to talk about Darth Vader. Oh my god. Wow. Okay, when that hallway was dark, the corridor was dark, the lightsaber lit up, I literally went, oh shit, out loud. Because it was an oh shit moment. And Darth Vader took out rebels like nothing. It was like Jedi's chopping down battle droids. It was such an amazing moment that was just making you go, like, you didn't even know what to do. I was frozen. I was frozen in awe. And I was watching it and I couldn't believe my eyes. And I was like, oh my god, get out of there, give him the death, give him the plans, give him the freaking plans. You're gonna have to sacrifice yourself to give him the plans, otherwise Darth Vader is gonna get it. The crazy part is that scene was so intense that you completely forgot that, of course they're gonna end up with the plans, but I was thinking like, is there a possibility that it won't end up with the plans? Like, I was so absorbed in that scene that I completely forgot what was gonna happen, and we know what was gonna happen. I didn't expect to see Princess Leia. It was a little bit off because of the CG, but it was still, you know, it was still quite convincing. I thought we were just gonna see her back, and once we saw her back, I was like, oh, Princess Leia, right? But then when I saw the CG face, I was like, okay, this is a little bit odd, but it's still cool. It's still cool. And I love the way it ended. Like, the Corvette, the Corellian Corvette just goes, and then boom, credits. It was perfect. And I was like, oh my god, that was so good. And it makes me want to watch A New Hope right after. Anyways, I'm done talking about it. It makes me want to go watch it again. I can't wait to get this movie on Blu-ray. 4K Blu-ray. I gotta have that. Anyways, that's my spoiler chat for you guys. This movie was a 9 out of 10. It's one of the best Star Wars films out there. A Force Awakens is a great film in the sense that it appeals to everybody, not just Star Wars fans, it appeals to the masses. But make no mistake about it, Star Wars Rogue One was made for the fans. Like, just completely made for the fans. Because anybody who's a non-fan is always confused, like, okay, what is the story? Like, where does it fall? Is it episode 8 or what? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But, like, now you know, like, what happens. So, there you have it. That's all I gotta say in this episode. I'm super pumped and I want to watch it again, and I can't wait. And as always, if you enjoyed this review and you want to see more, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.
Hell of a job, brother. When we get back to the base, the beer's on me.
He's about to go up against the only thing they can't handle. You.